U.S. Marines, along with British and Afghan soldiers, have run into a wall of Taliban resistance while carrying out the largest offensive in Afghanistan since the war began more than 8 years ago. About 15,000 troops are trying to take control of Marjah, the largest town in southern Afghanistan under the Taliban's control. On the third day of fighting Monday, small groups of Taliban fighters slowed the advance of coalition forces. For the second straight day, an airstrike accidentally killed a group of civilians. So far, the only casualties reported by the coalition have been one American and one British soldier. Both were killed on Saturday. For more now on the offensive in Marjah, we're joined by CBS News Military Analyst Major Mike Lyons. Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle.
How important is Marjah?
It's important for a couple different reasons. First of all, it's the center of gravity for all the Taliban operations, military operations, really for the past 7 or 8 years right now. So we knew there was a very large Taliban stronghold in that location. So center of gravity for logistics, for operations, for things going through. It's also a major part of where the opium and the poppy is actually produced within that part of Afghanistan. So if we can control that city in particular with over 80 to 120,000 civilians in that population area, bring a legitimate Afghan government in, bring Afghan security forces in, will go a long way towards the overall counterinsurgency strategy that General McChrystal is trying to implement right now.
There are a lot of civilians in that area, and some pamphlets were dropped over the weekend or a while ago to tell them, get out if you want to be safe, to make sure you're safe. How effective was that? Because we've seen a number of civilians killed already.
There were, and actually the overall plan was effective. We've been doing that actually going back to January, and we've done that before. We dropped pamphlets on the ground, warned civilians, look, we're coming into this area, we're going to target these key areas. We've given up the principle of surprise in this military operation to do that, but we did it because we realized that protecting the civilians is the most important part of this overall strategy. Overall, it's been successful. Unfortunately, the Taliban has used civilians as human shields, and that was this unfortunate accident that happened the other day.
There was a capture recently in that area. Explain to us what was happening there.
Yeah, it looks like we've captured the head Taliban of the military force in Pakistan, with a joint U.S.-Pakistan force. And what it shows me is Pakistan's no longer sitting on the fence. They're now going to help us and support a lot of the operations that they're doing on the cross-border. They recognize that it's really the only way that they're going to have the United States, be safe and secure in Afghanistan right now. I think it could go a long way. Capturing the lead Taliban officer, so to speak, within the military operations could really put a great hindrance on their overall operation.
It seems like every time that the military is able to squash the Taliban in one area, they pop up in another. And you're talking about this regional approach and regional support. Is there a chance that this is actually going to work this time?
Yeah, Michelle, this is different. There's about 1,000 things on the to-do list for going into this part of the country, and right now we've accomplished maybe the 8 of them, 8 or 9 or 10 of them. There's going to be many more things to come over the next coming months. First of all, we're not leaving. The last time we were in Marjah was 3 or 4 years ago. We brought a small British force in and we left 4 days later. You won't see that. You'll see Afghan government officials, you'll see Afghan security forces there for a very long time, bringing in a government. You'll know we've succeeded when we set up that infrastructure. We've set up communications back to Kabul. We've set up water treatment plants where we've provided the people with the kind of security that they have where they can live their life without the Taliban having so much control over them like they had before.
You mentioned a timeline. I mean, what kind of timeline are we looking at? How long can it be?
Large forces. You'll see 5,000 to 6,000 troops in Marjah, I would say, going for the next 12 to 18 months. Now, again, a lot of them will be Afghan security forces, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see 2,000 to 3,000 American forces, all part of the surge that President Obama ordered back in December when he said we're going to change the strategy, we're going to keep American troops in these locations, use the same strategy we did in Iraq in order to get the same result that we had there.
All right, Major Mike Lyons, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Michelle.
Appreciate the insight.